Welcome to the Alchemy for Authors podcast. I'm your host, Jo Buer. If you're an author, aspiring author, writer, or wordsmith, you're in the right place. Join me as I chat with authors and industry professionals and share my own experiences with using manifestation and mindset practices to supercharge our writing lives. We'll explore ways to overcome writer's block and imposter syndrome. We'll find motivation and inspiration to get our butts in the chair and our stories written. And most importantly, we'll embark on creating lives and livings doing what we love. If you've ever dreamed of a prolific, wealthy, happy or healthy author career or writing practice, then this show is for you. So let's dive into Alchemy for Authors. Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to another solo episode of Alchemy for Authors. Episode 70, Manifestation Practices for the New Year. I hope you enjoyed a wonderful festive season and beginning to 2024. It'll be January 1st, New Year's Day, as this goes out. I don't know about you, but I have always loved the idea of a new year. I love the feeling of new beginnings, untapped potential and possibilities, and the feeling of starting again with a fresh slate. I know not everyone feels this way. I get that if we allowed ourselves, we could tune into these feelings any day of the year. I know that January the 1st doesn't mean we wake up and we're suddenly the prolific, best-selling author we've always aspired to, and that suddenly writing comes easily. Celebrities are reading our books and sharing on their socials, and never again do we have to worry about marketing our books or asking for reviews, or taking on a day job or part-time employment to pay the bills. I mean, it's a wonderful dream, and dreams are important, but the reality is that regardless if you're someone like me who gets super excited for a new year or not, most likely we're still going to wake up the exact same person that we were in 2023. And our author business and writing lives are probably no different than how we left them on December 31st. There are, however, things that we can do to set ourselves up right for the new year. And as many of us are taking a bit of a break away from the general hustle, bustle, busyness of day-to-day life at this time, this might just be the best time to reflect upon what we achieved in 2023. Look at things we might want to change, pivots, rebranding, upskilling, and what we want to accomplish by the end of 2024. That's what the purpose of this episode is about. Some small things that we can do now to set ourselves up for the year ahead. Although, of course, you can implement these any time of the year. Now, I've called this episode Manifestation Practices for the New Year, but let me just clarify what I mean by manifestation. So to me, manifestation is the act of creating something or making something real or bring it into real life. Did I manifest my first novel? Absolutely. My first novel, Rest Easy Resort, started as an idea, something that resided purely in my mind. After a while, that idea started to invoke some emotions in me. I started to get excited about it. I began to wonder if it could actually become a reality. I'd never written a book before, so was I up to it? With some mindset tweaks, pep talks, and practices I put into place to move it from a wish to a goal, I started to bring it into a reality. Writing a book went from an idea to a feeling and emotion that in turn led to action, and that action being actually writing the thing. And that, my friend, in a nutshell, is manifestation. It's a thought fueled by emotion that catalyzes action until that thing becomes a reality. And Rest Easy Resort was born, birthed into the world right before New Year's in 2021. If you're interested, you can hear a little bit more in depth of how I manifested my first book in episode 8 of Alchemy for Authors. Manifesting my first book is what it's titled. To learn a little bit more, I'm going to make sure that the link is in the show notes. You will find that this episode is quite heavy with a lot of resources for you to check out if you're interested in doing so. And if you're also interested in some tips and tricks for manifesting, you can check out my free PDF that you get when you sign up to my newsletter. It's called Manifestation for Authors, Tips and Tricks to Supercharge Your Author Life Using the Law of Attraction. And you can find that by going to www.subscribepage.com/manifestation for authors. But like I said, I'll put that in the show notes as well. So manifesting anything can be as woo-woo or not, as you like. The one aspect I do like to always emphasize, though, is that it does require action. Despite what some people believe, wishing alone is not going to create the life or writing goals that you desire. You need to take action. The law of attraction is nothing without action. There are hundreds of manifestation gurus out there telling you their blueprints for manifestation. I'm not going to do that. I don't believe there's a foolproof strategy for making your dreams a reality. Personally, I tend to believe in other concepts like divine timing. Yes, I would like a millionaire author career by the end of the week. Thanks very much. But maybe there's a really good reason for that not happening. Maybe there are important things I need to do first along the journey towards that goal, or maybe I'm just not ready enough for that goal to eventuate. So maybe there's some serious mindset stuff that I still need to do first. Or, it's no secret, and a quick Google search can confirm this, but it's just like how 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt within the first few years. Maybe, just maybe, like those lottery winners, I'm not yet at the stage of being able to handle $1 million author career. Because here's the other thing, and maybe you can relate to this, but I don't always know what's best for me. In the past, I've tried to convince myself and others that like a particular man was right for me. And sure, there could have been warning signs galore that he wasn't, but the heart wants what the heart wants, right? So thank the universe, that didn't work out. And my husband, whom I adore, well, he wouldn't have been in my life had these previous relationships worked out. And I wasn't even looking for a relationship when we first met. In fact, I was a week away from leaving the country that we were in, Canada, permanently, because I was pretty sure that what I wanted and what I needed and what I desired was to move back to New Zealand. Spoiler alert, I didn't leave the country for another few years. And when I did, it was with my husband. If I had gotten all the things that I had at one time wanted with all my heart at the time, my life would be considerably different and much messier. And I have to say, I quite like my life overall. It's pretty darn awesome. The dream jobs, and I say that in quote marks, the dream jobs that I missed out on, I later learned that they were close calls with disaster. And the opportunities I didn't really want or didn't really care for sometimes turned out to be pretty damn cool. So sometimes I'm actually quite happy that I don't always get what I want. And I'm also one of those annoying people who looks for meaning and purpose in everything. So yes, I'm that person that goes around saying everything happens for a reason. I have uttered that throughout my entire lifetime. And I do tend to also believe that there is something greater and a heck of a lot smarter than me, lending a helping hand behind the scenes and guiding me throughout my life. Whatever you want to call that, your higher self, God, the universe. I tend to think they're a little bit smarter than I am and actually know what I need more than I do. So this doesn't mean that you should give up on setting goals and having dreams and sitting on your butt and giving everything up to the universe or whatever you believe in. Because I don't know about you, but where's the fun in that? I love having dreams and goals and plans. I have no desire to be a rudderless boat sailing on a sea of mediocrity. My aim is to get as clear as I can about what I want my life to look like, why I want it to look that way, and then how I can go about bringing myself closer to that reality without being so stubborn about it that I don't allow surprises and pivots along the way. So, not only can we sometimes be crap in thinking we know the best thing for us, but sometimes we can also limit ourselves. Maybe our big dream isn't all that big and mighty. Maybe our goals are too small because we underestimate what we're capable of. So, what I'm really trying to say is set goals, make plans to reach those goals, but remain flexible. Learn when it's smart to have grit and when it's smarter to quit your goal or path to get there. So, regardless of your beliefs or whether the word manifestation makes you cringe or not, I'm going to be sharing with you some overall easy peasy practices that might help you start off on the right foot with your author career this year. They're not all woo-woo, I promise. And although I'm sharing these with the intention of helping you set yourself up for your writing and author goals this year, they can actually be used any time of the year and in any aspects of your life. Right, so here they are, and they're not really in any particular order. They kind of are, but you're just going to have to bear with me as I jump around just a little bit. So first up, one of my recommendations for starting the year off right is to reflect. Easy, right? I want you to consider reflecting on everything that you have achieved over the last year, big and small. I'm a writer, so I'm always going to recommend maybe you write this down. You get a journal. Fancy journals are always lovely. And yeah, write down everything that you can think of that you actually achieved, big and small, over the last year. Then maybe consider writing down what you did not achieve and why you didn't achieve that. Was it that you ran out of time, or it didn't become as important as you thought it was, or something happened during the year that just meant you didn't have the bandwidth or capacity to see it through to fruition? Whatever that is. And then maybe consider, how did you feel about not meeting that goal? Because it might be that some of the goals you set for yourself at the beginning of the year, or that you hope to see through, you're not actually too phased that you didn't accomplish them during this year. And that can be quite telling. Something to consider whether it needs to be on your goal list for this year. Also consider what things you want to bring with you into 2024. What things do you want to continue doing that you've been doing so well? Or what things do you maybe need to let go of? After you've kind of done a reflection to work out where you're at, where you've come from, hopefully enjoying those moments of revisiting some of your accomplishments, because that's always really important, then I want you to revisit your why, your writing why. And if you haven't already, you can go back and listen to episode 1 of Alchemy for Authors, which is finding your writing why. I want you to revisit again why you are a writer. This might have changed from when you did it last. I want you to think about and maybe journal about what it is that has motivated you to be a writer. What motivates you to write? You could do anything. So why choose to be a writer? What do you care about getting a book published? Why are you putting your energy, efforts, resources, time, money, all of that into your writing goals? And while you're looking at this, I want you to move beyond just thinking, because I want to make money, or I want to leave my job and have a full-time author career, or whatever it is. Move away from basing your why on money motivations. I admit that when I first decided to get serious about becoming an author, I thought a big part of my writing why was so I could make a living doing something that I really loved, because I was in a situation that I did not really love at the time. That bad situation, that bad work situation at the time, was a great motivator to get my butt in the chair and actually start writing, something that I'd wanted to do my entire life. But had I gotten really real with myself at the time, I would have known that what was really motivating me was not the idea of money. Because I wasn't an idiot. I had been listening to Joanna Penn's Creative Pen podcast for years. I had been listening to various other podcasts, and reading books by other authors and that. And writing is not often sold as a get-rich-quick scheme. So I did know from the beginning that this was going to be a slow burn career for me. And to be honest, I was quite happy with that. So despite what I might have been telling myself at the time to get my butt in the chair, it wasn't my why for writing. There are easier ways to earn money. Having a full-time job and then trying to create a writing business on the side is pretty darn intense. It's got to be a labor of love. Otherwise, why do it? You might find too that your writing why has shifted since you first began writing. One thing that helped me out in 2023, or something that I found really interesting, was actually diving into the Enneagram to get a little bit more clarity around what my personal motivators for writing and doing this podcast and everything was. So back in episode 58, I had the lovely Claire Taylor on the show, and we talked about author alignment in the Enneagram. She also has this fantastic book that I highly recommend called Reclaim Your Author Career. And it talks a little bit about our motivations behind writing and wanting to be an author. I also, in October, did her 5-week Liberated Writer course, which was fantastic. So I really, really love the Enneagram, and I think it's a really cool place to start if you're stuck on working out your why. So the Enneagram helps you figure out what are your innermost fears and desires that are driving your motivation behind anything and everything. So Claire Taylor's book, Reclaim Your Author Career, is a really great resource that kind of breaks down in a really basic way of some of the motivations behind why we decide to walk this path of being a writer. So for myself, I'm an Enneagram 4. Quite often I have a strong 3 wing. Other times I have a bit of a strong 5 wing. And if you're not quite sure what that means, honestly, go check out her book. It's fantastic. But what that means is that, as a bit of a broad generalization, my deepest, darkest desire is actually just to be uniquely myself. And that resonates because I have always had this thing where I have lusted after the freedom of being able to do whatever the heck I want to do. I really dislike somebody else telling me what to do, how I should dress, what my hours of work should be. When I started out in the workforce and I worked, retail jobs and things like that, I never really resonated with the customer always being right, because sometimes the customer is not right. And so over my work life, sometimes this can get me into trouble because I don't necessarily like conforming to other people's expectations. And so the idea of writing allows me to be me. This podcast allows me to be me. I can talk about whatever I like because I am my own boss. I get to write about whatever I like because, again, I'm my own boss. Now, it's definitely going to affect sales, because if I decide to write things that nobody wants to read, well, that's not necessarily going to make me money. But if I'm honest with myself, what's more important to me, money or being uniquely myself? Being myself, authentically, uniquely myself, is always going to win, hands down. So if you're not sure what your writing why is, I suggest you do a little bit of free writing around it. Ask yourself some questions about what really motivates you. Again, go beyond material aspects of, I want extra money to pay the mortgage or leave my dead-end job or whatever that is. And I do, again, highly recommend you go check out either episode 58 of Alchemy for Authors, where I interview Claire Taylor, or check out her awesome book, Reclaim Your Author Career. I will put links to her website on the show notes as well, so you can check out her course if that's something that interests you, the Liberated Writer course. So another tip for manifesting an awesome writing year for yourself is to visualize your perfect day. So again, this is something that I quite often script out. So I will write it out, But there are also some really cool meditations out there that might help you with this as well, where you visualize what your ideal day would look like if you were already living the life of your dreams. You can, like I said, script it out like it's a diary entry and you're living it in the present, you're living it now. Or you can bullet point it if you prefer. Like in my ideal day, I'll be getting up at this time, I'll be eating this for breakfast. The sun is shining, I'll go outside and play with my dog in the backyard that looks out to a sea view or a lake view, or I don't know, whatever your ideal day is. And when you're scripting it out or visualizing it or playing it in your mind, really pay attention to your five senses. Try and get a sense of what things smell like, they look like, they feel like, the sounds you hear. If you're eating specific food, what does it taste like? Really, really embody that version of you living your dream life. And pay attention to the feelings that it evokes as well. Something I have noticed when I have tried to do this is quite often as I'm visualizing what my ideal life looks like, I end up leaning towards what I feel my ideal life should look like, what time I feel like I should get up, the things that I feel like I should be doing, the foods I feel like I should be eating, the people I should be friends with. And I find that I start visualizing a life that is not actually aligned with what I want, but what I feel like others might expect from me or what a normal person would want. Or, yeah. So paying attention to your feelings as you do this, as you go through this process, is key because it might enlighten you as to whether you are stuck in the cycle of people pleasing and feeling like you should live somebody else's life, or if you're being authentic to yourself and trying to visualize a life best aligned for what you actually want. Because if you are, then you are going to be, as you do this exercise, you are going to be feeling just this amazing warmth of love and gratitude and excitement and happiness for what you're visualizing, because it actually resonates with what your soul wants. Okay, that sounded a little bit woo-woo, but there we are. I stand by it. I want you to also, as you're done scripting this or visualizing or listening to a meditation on this or whatever, I want you to also think about things in your life now that could simulate some of those emotions, the positive emotions that arose when you were doing that exercise. So if you were feeling a sense of freedom of time, which is something that I aspire to, not being told when I have to do this or that I can't take a day off for being sick because there's not enough staff, or having to get permission to have a doctor's appointment during work times, or all this stuff that I really don't like. Think about if there are ways that you can simulate those feelings, like in my case, freedom of time, in your life now. Are there things that you can do that can buy you extra time? So, what are some of the things that you visualize in your ideal life that you can actually have now? One of the things, this sounds really silly, but one of the things that I have always wanted, always since I was little, was somebody to cook for me because I hate cooking. So in my visualizations, I've always had somebody else cook for me. I've not had to worry about cooking dinners and whatnot. Now, I'm really lucky because my husband quite likes cooking. And we've come to an agreement where he tends to do about 80% of the cooking during the week, which I absolutely adore. So I have already brought into my reality one of those things that is actually high on my desire list because it's something that I don't enjoy. Yeah, so I can already feel that wonderful feeling of freedom of not having to think about what am I cooking for dinner tonight, and coming home from the day job and having to start prepping for dinner, things that I really don't enjoy. And my husband quite happily enjoys doing that. And I just take over other household tasks that he doesn't enjoy, and it works really well. So think about ways that you can bring some of those positive feelings from your ideal life into your now. Something that follows along nicely from that is incremental upgrades. So when you're looking at achieving your goals or manifesting something like an amazing author career or writing life or whatever it is, think about ways that you can now, in the present moment, include some incremental upgrades to bring you closer to that reality. So when you've scripted out or visualized your ideal day and you've gone through everything from what you're wearing to what you're eating to how you're feeling to the things you're surrounding yourself with, it might be the furniture in your house or the type of house or the plants in your garden or the writing notebook or computer or anything like that. Are there some things that you can do now to bring some of those future you things into the present? And these can be very, very material. So you can think about, well, would millionaire author me, if that was your goal, would millionaire author me be sleeping on these type of bed sheets, or would I have something just a little bit more luxurious? And maybe you can't get the most expensive upgrade of bed sheets. Maybe that's out of your price range right now, but maybe you can kind of upgrade from what you've already got, something just slightly fancier. I do this sometimes when I'm clothes shopping. I actually hate clothes shopping. It's not something I like at all. And so I tend to have this predisposition to going to find cheap clothes that I don't really care about, but that I can wear multiple times for multiple occasions. Sometimes, though, I might see something that's just a little bit different, a little bit cool, a little bit quirky. Like I've done this with shoes before, where I've seen some kind of patterned, comfortable shoes that I just really loved, and they were quite expensive. And I didn't really have a good reason for purchasing them because they weren't good old standard black that kind of goes with everything. But I asked myself, well, what would, full-time author Jo do? Would she be wearing these shoes? And would she care? Like if money wasn't an object, would I care? And we're not talking super expensive shoes here. For me, shoes over $30 is pretty expensive because I don't really like spending money on clothes. So yeah, I asked the question and it was an incremental upgrade. And I bought these fancy pants shoes because author Jo would own these shoes. And so that was my incremental upgrade. Somebody that talks about incremental upgrades quite a lot is Denise Duffield Thomas. She has an amazing book, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch, and she talks about manifestation and money mindset. She has a money mindset boot camp as well, which has always been on my wish list to maybe enroll in one year, but I haven't got there yet. However, she does talk about incremental upgrades all the time. She talks about things like your underwear, for instance. If you wear kind of worn out, wholly unattractive underwear because they're comfortable and you just don't care, maybe an incremental upgrade for you would be some nice, sexy underwear that makes you actually feel good. Nobody needs to see them, but just knowing that you're wearing them might make you feel more abundant or prosperous or a little bit more like a millionaire or, in her words, probably the rich bitch that you are. And we say that with an endearing term, not as a negative. So find those things that actually make you feel good. They can be little things. Maybe it's getting your nails done if you've never had your nails done. Maybe it's upgrading a piece of furniture or buying a fancy new notebook or a pen or whatever it is. They don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be big things. They just have to represent to you an elevation in yourself and a move towards being this future self that you've visualized. Some people do this also with perfume, and it might be that a particular smell or fragrance or perfume makes you feel rich or confident or abundant or like a millionaire author. And if that's the case, maybe that's where you need to splurge in buying this perfume and fragrance and wearing it so that you can feel that way on a everyday, regular basis. So again, all of these are just some ideas and tips for you. You're going to take what you think resonates for you and discard what doesn't. And you certainly don't need to do all of them. It's a list that I will be embracing this year. and endeavoring to do for sure, but doesn't mean you have to. Something that you might have heard talked about by a lot of people is taking on a word of the year or a word for the year. So narrowing down one word that encompasses what your intention is for the year, or that feeling or vibe that you want to embody for the year or want to be reminded of. I've done this most years. I don't think I did it 2023. I think it was the first year I skipped in a few. But most years I actually purchase a bracelet from My Intent. And again, I'll put the link in the show notes. And they stamp whatever word that you choose on this little circular disc. And I usually just wear it on my wrist so that I can see it every day. And it reminds me of where I want my focus to be. So when I was writing my first book, I think one of mine was create or write, something like that. And yeah, like it's just one of those little reminders, one of those little things that you could call an anchor to keep your desires, your wishes, your goals, the thing that you're trying to manifest in the forefront of your mind without being overwhelming. So it's that little reminder. There are lots of ways that you can try and work out what your word is. You might have one word that just comes to mind right away. Otherwise, I recommend that you go check out the My Intent website. They have little quizzes that can help you find your word or suggestions and that too. So you can kind of scope it out for yourself and see if it's something that might resonate with you. On a personal note, the word that I'm embodying this year is actually going to be simplify. I love the mantra that I think I learned first from Marie Forleo, which is simplify to amplify. And having the word simplify on something, on a piece of jewelry, on my wrist that I can see every day, I think is going to be really beneficial for keeping that concept fresh in my brain. Because it is not something that I excel at, but it is something that I want to get better at. I tend to find it easy to overwhelm myself by taking on too much. And of course, everything that we say yes to, we're saying no to something else. So I want to pare back and simplify what I'm saying yes to. I also have a tendency to overcomplicate things. So like in the day job, I can spend 3 times as much time as other people, lesson planning and that kind of stuff, because I tend to overcomplicate things. And yeah, it ends up being a bit of a time suck. So remembering just to simplify and do what needs to be done will be a more efficient use of my time and maybe stop some of the overwhelm and burnout that I seem to be prone to throughout the year. It's also, I've got quite clear in my mind how I want to declutter my surroundings a little bit. The house and the yard, for instance, have got a little bit chaotic this year as I've been focused on other things instead. And so I think decluttering or simplifying my environment might be a way of also helping me have a more productive and less stressful year this year, which is what I'm aiming for. So yeah, so my word for the year is going to be simplify. And the mantra, simplify to amplify, that simply means that sometimes when we simplify things, we make things easier on ourselves, and it allows other areas of our lives to be energized, and we can amplify our productivity if we simplify and get things more efficient. Don't know that I'm explaining it that great, but it works for me. It feels right for me. So having a word of the year as something that's on a Post-it note, on your computer or on your bathroom mirror or something like that can work as an anchor. An anchor is simply something that can gently remind you maybe throughout the day of what you're working towards or aspiring to. I've talked about this before in other episodes. Some people will change up their passwords on various apps and things like that to better reflect what their goal is and use that as an anchor so that every time they type in their password, they're reminded of what they're working towards. Some people create vision boards. I've done that in the past. It's not something that I do every year, but you could create a vision board. I do tend to leave little notes all over my desks and that of reminders for myself of what I'm aspiring to. And the likes of simplify to amplify is one. There we are. So another thing that is something I like to start the year off with is decluttering. And I know this doesn't sound like it has much to do with manifestation, but I really believe that it does. So I am a teacher, which makes me, I know not all teachers are like this, but I think a lot of us are, which makes me a little bit of a hoarder. I have my home office alone has an entire double wardrobe full of school resources that are also piled up in every nook and cranny under my desk and everything else. It is not conducive to having a clear mind. Clutter really does bog down mental energy and creative energy. So decluttering does a couple of things in the world of manifestation. On a psychological level, it really does seem to make space in your mind. Some people say that, your house, your surroundings reflects the state of your mind. And if that's the case, my mind has not been in a very good state for a while. So clutter and mess really does weigh on a person, even if it's in the very back of their mind. And so it can slow down that productivity physically as well. If you can't easily access what you need to access, or if you can't easily find what you need to, it can slow down your efficiency and your productivity. But it's also bogs you down a little bit. For me, it bogs me down because it's something that's always on my to-do list, which is sort through and sell off a whole lot of my teaching resources that I haven't used in years. Get rid of it, throw it out. I know I'm going to be feeling a million times better when I do this. So this is high on my list for the next few weeks. I also feel that decluttering can, on a more woo-woo level, I guess, open up space for new energies to come in, for new things to enter into your life. When I was in my 20s, if I wanted a new relationship or something like that, I would always go about making room for another person in my life. For instance, I would maybe clear out old clothes so that there was space in my drawers and that if there was somebody to enter my life and end up sharing a house with me, I would just make sure that there was space for whatever energy or whatever thing I was wanting to bring into my life. If you're wanting to bring more abundance and money, maybe you need to clear out your wallet and get rid of all those old receipts and everything that live in the bottom of your handbag. Maybe that would be a little bit of a sign to the universe that you're actually open to the energy of abundance. So I think this time of the year is good a time as any to do a bit of a spring clean, regardless of it not being spring, to do the whole Marie Kondo thing of going through your items, the things that you own, and look at what brings you joy and what doesn't. Because the things that don't bring you joy, maybe there were gifts or things given to you that you've kept out of that sense of obligation, but every time you look at it, you're kind of like, ugh. Or if something's broken, but you've held on to it because it still kind of works and you just haven't got around to replacing it. Maybe now is the time to declutter, get rid of things that are broken, get rid of things that no longer work or go get them fixed. Get rid of those things that kind of give you icky energy or you don't really, really love. And maybe this is also, while you're doing that, time to make those incremental upgrades that we were just talking about as well and replacing some things. But I do think that a tidy house and tidy surroundings and a decluttered office or working space or whatever does help mindset and does give an invitation to the universe or your higher self or whatever you believe in to help you manifest your goals. Physically, it makes productivity so much easier, but it just, I don't even know how to describe it, but it does alleviate a little bit of that burden and stress of being in a cluttered, messy environment. And start small too. It might just be that you decide to declutter one thing a day. You don't have to do everything all at once, but I think you will notice a sense of satisfaction. I don't know what the right words are to describe it, but it's a good feeling, even if it's just clearing out your cutlery drawer or that drawer that lives in everybody's kitchen where random stuff just gets shoved out of sight, out of mind. It will give you almost a freeing feeling, and that feeling alone is what can jumpstart some manifestations. And you're making room in your life for new things, better things as well. So decluttering. Of course, being the start of a new year, you are going to want to plan out the year ahead as well. And this can look different for different people. It might be that you are a hardcore planner with calendars everywhere and notebooks and all the rest of it. Or it might be that you like to have quarterly goals, just bare basics. Follows along a little bit with like how you like to plot your stories and that as well, I think. Although I'm not much of a plotter, I do like to have an overall year plan as to when things are happening and where I need to focus my energies. So that is always a good thing to kind of get really clear on. Going back to your why and to your visualization or scripting of what your ideal day looks like helps give you clarity of your goals as well and what you want to achieve. Revisiting and reflecting upon the previous year, what you did achieve and what you didn't achieve, will also give you somewhere to start as to how much you think you actually can achieve this year, if it is reasonable, or if you need to give yourself more time to do certain things, like maybe writing a book, or letting go of things completely, which really didn't give you all those good vibes to begin with, and probably don't deserve a place on your schedule for the next year. So your schedule, your plan for the year, and you can do that in whatever way you like. There's lots of people out there talking about how to plan the year ahead or whatnot. Orna Ross usually does some really cool videos and calls and that through her Patreon, which helps with your planning for your writing year ahead. You could always check that out. But your schedule, your plan is going to ideally reflect your priorities. It's going to reflect what you're actually committed to. So it might be that you need to look at last year's plan and schedule and calendar and see where it was that your priorities really were. There is no point saying that your priority is actually family if they got the short end of the stick because work came first. So get clear and be really honest with yourself. Something that I often do, and I'm warning against you doing this, and I'm working towards not doing this myself, is overcommitting. And that is taking on more than you can really do in a year. The last 4 months or so of this year was insane busy for me, and I really did schedule far, far too much that it meant I felt like I was just living in complete burnout for 4 months or so. And I had some family things as well, and a death of a loved one and everything that impacted things as well. And and it was not a fantastic way of living really over the last 4 months because it was so damn busy that I was not the best version of myself. I was constantly feeling run down. And then, of course, as soon as my actual holidays started, 3 days in, I got COVID, which is no surprise. So I had COVID right up till Christmas. That was not fun. But I'm not actually surprised considering how overbooked and burnt out I was really feeling and go without time off or opportunity to even put up the Christmas tree this year. So I was my own worst enemy, and those are the consequences. So that's something that I want to avoid this year, is overcommitting. It's not how I want to continue living my life, where I am living in this constant, crazy, burnt out, run, busy feel. That is not how I aspire to continue my life at all. So one thing that I'm going to be doing, and that I recommend you maybe consider if you don't do it already, is actually scheduling in downtime. And this is going to be tricky for me because even when I have downtime, I tend to feel a bit guilty that I'm not working. I'm a bit of a workaholic. So it's hard for me to actually rest and do nothing unless I'm sick. And then that's more enforced, I guess. But I am going to actually schedule some downtime, because one thing I do want to endeavor to do this year is spend more time with family. Like I said, we lost a loved one, and there are some other people in my circle that passed away this year. And that cliche saying of life's too short, it really is. And it doesn't matter how many years you are granted on this earth, how long you are lucky to live, it always feels too short for those people left behind, for sure. So scheduling downtime is also one of my goals for my general well-being. And yeah, so I can spend time with family, but I can also have some time to rest and recuperate and hopefully not get so run down or so sick as I did this year. So you again want to go back and reflect on your ideal day, what that looks like, and what last year looked like and what did and didn't work for you. You need to remove yourself a little bit from those things that you feel that you should be doing and move more towards those things that give you energy that you want to do. If there are things, because there always are, if there are things that we know we have to do, we may not necessarily love them, see if you can rephrase them in a way that gives you energy rather than drains your energy. So if it's something that you know that you have to do to keep your author business or your life in general ticking over, is there a way that you can change the way you talk about it from I have to do this or I should be doing this to I get to do this? As soon as you say, I get to do this, I get to do something, you're taking that power back and you're adding that sense of control, but also positivity towards it. Because when you get to do something, how lucky are you? That's how you need to think about things. I get to go to the dentist this year. How lucky am I? There are plenty of people out there that don't get to do that. Yeah, I'm always nervous going to the dentist, but that is how I am rephrasing it this year. I get to do this. Yay me, healthy teeth, woohoo. So there we are. So do plan ahead, look at your year overall, make sure that you have left yourself downtime when you know that you need downtime. If there's a particular time of the year that you seem to get burnt out more than others, then make sure you schedule some downtime there or before that. Put in all those important things that you know that you need to do. If it's not on the calendar, it's probably not going to get done. And remember that your schedule, the things that you do put on the calendar, do reflect your priorities. So get really clear on what your priorities are, what your commitments are. Think about what you do want to embrace this year, but just know that you can't do it all. Is it direct selling? Do you want to learn a little bit more about AI-assisted plotting? Think about one thing that you might want to learn as well, because I do think that we are here on this planet to learn new things, to grow, and that as well. So think if there's one area of your author business that you could maybe learn a little bit more, and maybe you need to invest in a course or something like that. There are lots of online courses or things that can really help you grow your author career as well. Right. Something else that I know is probably at the forefront of a lot of people as we go into this year. And as we talk about writing and that as a business, we need to probably consider our money mindset. So as we go into this year, it's a good time to reflect upon what our money situation's looking like, what our finances are looking like, how we're set up, where we're getting the icky feelings, like we're not where we want to be, why are we not where we want to be, and what might be keeping us held back from achieving the financial stability or income that we're actually desiring. So money mindset is like an entire episode on its own, really. So I'm just going to kind of briefly go over here. Again, scripting, writing down, jotting down all those thoughts and beliefs that are negative that might be impacting upon your money mindset or your mindset towards success. This is a good time to do that, to get some clarity around that, and then work towards clearing away some of those ingrained mindset barriers to success and earning that income that you deserve. Quite often I will do this by literally bullet pointing all those horrible, intrusive thoughts and negative thoughts and everything that comes up whenever I think about different aspects of my business or money, that imposter syndrome, all that kind of stuff, those phrases that I might have inherited from my family as a child. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money's tied to working hard, all those kind of things that often get in my way. And then it's time to find a way to let them go. And so that might be scripting the reverse. Maybe you can make some affirmations that are the direct opposite of those beliefs that you have ingrained. Maybe it's that you do a little ritual of burning all those beliefs that you've written out that are holding you back. Maybe you need to go through and, like Becca Symes talks about, question the premise, QTP, think about, are these things that I believe around money, are they actually true? Byron Katie, with her ideas around what she calls the work, she has 4 questions that she recommends you ask yourself whenever you're finding yourself held back in some way. The first question is, ask yourself, is it true? So for each of the negative mindset things that you might have written down, ask, is it true? Number 2, can you absolutely know that it's true? Usually the answer to that is no, it's not. I can't absolutely know 100% that it is true. Number 3, how do you react when you believe that thought? So think about that. When you believe that thought, are you feeling like you're the best version of yourself? If you're believing the thought that you've got to work really hard to earn a good wage, how do you feel about that? Does it just make you tired as you say that? It does for me. It makes me feel overwhelmed and tired at the idea of working harder than I already am to make a good income. Yuck, who needs that? And is that true? Going back to that first question, is it true? No, it's not. There are plenty of people out there who don't necessarily work as hard as me, or as many hours as me, or any of that, who make a heck of a lot more money than me. And I'm not saying they don't deserve that. They absolutely do. Hell, I want their tricks and tips for doing that because that sounds amazing. Who doesn't? So how do you react when you believe that thought? Probably not in a positive way. And then the number 4 is, who would you be without that thought? What kind of person would you be if you didn't believe that? You can take those thoughts that you've written down and flip the script, see them in their opposite, and maybe those are the thoughts that you now need to imbue in your life. Some things that help me out in this arena, I've got quite a few resources that I go to for this all the time. There is, of course, Denise Duffield Thomas, her book, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. She's also got a book, The Chillpreneur. They are both worth checking out if you need some help with money mindset and mindset in general around your business and success. My wonderful friend Carissa Andrews at Author Revolution, she has some cool courses and subscriptions that she does that I love diving into. She has her Millionaire Author Manifestation course, and I'll make sure that the links to that are in the show notes. But she and her friend Tammy Tyree, who's also been on the show, who is a certified hypnotist, that entire course is built around them helping you to shift some of those mindset blocks holding you back from your millionaire author career, I guess. One of the Author Revolution subscriptions that I absolutely adore, which is new for Carissa, she's only recently put it out, I think in November, is her author meditation membership. And again, she often teams up with Tammy Tyree for this too. Her December membership was Money Muse Mind Magic. And so every day for all of December, she had a different meditation or hypnosis that helped you bring in abundance or elevate your mindset or all that good stuff. So I tend to do those most nights before I go to bed. And it feels good. Like, even if you're not into the woo-woo and believing in this manifestation thing, do things that make you feel good. And I highly recommend that you check those out. So I'll put those in the show notes. You can also, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Carissa Andrews and Author Revolution and her work on manifestation and millionaire author mindsets, you can go back and listen to episode 16 of Alchemy for Authors, which is literally called Millionaire Author Mindset with Carissa Andrews. Or she had a bonus episode, which sits between episode 47 and 48, I guess. And that's purely on millionaire author manifestation. So you can go check those out too. Oh, and another couple of books and episodes in that to check out. I love Right to Riches, the book Right to Riches by Renee Rose. And she also has an episode, I think, by that name, episode 55 on Alchemy for Authors. And just recently, I've been reading a book by Lee Savino, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but Adventures with the Universe. That is another one that is worth checking out too if you're interested in mindset around money. There are so many good books out there, so I can't possibly name them all, but I am interested if you have come across some cool ones. Please do share them with me as well. There's a lot out there that can help you. Something else that I recommend that you keep in mind as you go forward into 2024 and as you gain clarity around what you want your year ahead to look like in your scheduling and planning and working on those goals and all of that good stuff, try and keep in mind your strengths. Work to your strengths. We are going to be so much more productive and efficient and probably happier when we spend more time in our strengths than our weaknesses. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't try and get better in other areas that we may not necessarily be geniuses at. Learning, growth, all that stuff is awesome, but get really clear on where your strengths lie, and you will probably find that you become a better aligned, more productive author in the long run. For myself, I tend to focus a little bit on my Clifton strengths. That's an area that I want to learn even more about, but it's something that I've been interested in for a little while. Becca Syme is the amazing person in the author sphere that I know of whom really embraces what using the Clifton strengths in your author career can look like and how it can impact upon your productivity and happiness as an author or a writer. So Becca is definitely worth checking out. She was on episode 20 of Alchemy for Authors, which was titled Intuition and Success for Authors with Becca Syme. So you can go back and listen to that if you haven't already. I talked about this at the beginning of the show, but I love the Enneagram. Claire Taylor's made that really accessible for us in regards to using the Enneagram as a writer and in your author career. Check out her book, Reclaim Your Author Career. It is fantastic. I've said that a few times now on this episode. And also you might want to check out her Liberated Writer 5-week course as well. So another thing I want us all to focus on as we head into 2024 is gratitude. Be grateful, people. Feel it, marinate in it. What are you grateful for, from the little things to the big things? And hopefully when you kind of did a reflection on 2023, you were already starting to feel those good vibes of being grateful for what you had achieved over the last year. For myself, I tend to list this out, and it's a practice that I like to try and do as often as possible. Ideally, it would be every day. I'm not always so good with this, but writing down things that you're grateful for. So not only does gratitude and the feeling of appreciation shift our energy, make us feel better, like psychologically, mentally, physically, in all those ways, it tends to just make us feel like the best versions of ourselves. It is also what I have found to be a core component in successfully manifesting or moving towards your goals and your dreams and your desires and all that good stuff. An abbreviated version of how I go about manifesting is to get in the feeling of gratitude, to write down and list as many things as I can possibly think of that I'm grateful for. And again, like I said, really marinate in that feeling because it's a feel-good feeling. Then I might go about writing down the goals or my ideal day in vivid detail so that I can continue those feelings of gratitude into that visualization or into that script of what I want to bring into my life. And as I do that, I always script it as if I have it now, as if I have it right at this moment, not I'll feel grateful when I achieve publishing success with my third book or whatever your goal is. You need to script it in the present, in the now, like you are already grateful. Because whenever we are grateful for something, we're usually grateful after we receive something. One of the things that helps manifestation and helps bring our goals into reality is to treat it as if it's already happened. One of my absolute favorite books is Be Your Future Self Now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And he talks quite a bit about moving from that feeling of needing something to wanting something to knowing that you already have something. So manifestation happens when you already know, when you already feel within your body that it's already a done deal, that it is inevitable, right? So if you can, write a list of feeling grateful for your desires as if you'd already achieved them. And that will help you bring your future into the present. So I'm just going to read to you just a really short excerpt from his book, Be Your Future Self Now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, just because it relates to this really well. He writes, when you think you need something, you have an unhealthy attachment to it. Needing implies you're in a deep state of lack and can't be whole or happy until the need is fulfilled. Wanting is healthier than needing, but wanting is still a state of lack. To want assumes you don't possess what you want. Knowing is a higher level than wanting. Knowing is the acceptance that you already have what you want. From there, you can live in a state of acceptance, peace, and gratitude. And who doesn't want acceptance, peace, and gratitude? So if you want to bring your manifestations into reality, you need to move towards the knowing that it is a done deal. And one way of doing that is being grateful not only for what has been in the past and is in the present, but for what is in the future as if it is in the present, right? Or that we have already received it. Like I've said, I usually use scripting, writing out, journaling to do this, but there might be other things that work for you. So again, that moves in towards do whatever you can do to align your future self, the self that you want to be, your future successful author self, with your present self. And all the different things that I've talked about so far will help you do that by decluttering your life, getting rid of those things that no longer fulfill you or bring you joy, by making incremental upgrades to your life, or by visualizing what your ideal life is as if you're living it now, by being grateful for those things that you are wanting to bring into your life as if you already have them. All this works towards aligning your future self with your present self. And then, my friend, you will find that one day your future self is your present self. Another thing to be cognizant of is to know that working on mindset is never ending. It is not a once and done job. So these mental blocks, these mindset things that arise over time that you will come across, you may not ever be fully rid of them. It's a process that is usually ongoing. And so some of the things that can help with that is, like I've said before, adopting a meditation practice. Like I use Author Revolution's meditation membership to help me with that. It might be ensuring that you've got lots of anchors or vision boards and that around you to remind you of where your mindset needs to be at, or prompts or anything like that. Something that can help with gratitude and to help you in those mindset moments where you might be feeling a bit of imposter syndrome or a bit blah, or a 1-star review has got you spiraling, is to start for yourself now, if you haven't already, a brag document or a bank of positives or whatever it is. For myself, it's just a file on my computer that I really need to add a little bit more to. But in there, I can copy and paste any amazing reviews from my books that have made me just feel all awesome inside. It could be letters from my readers or screenshots of DMs from people listening to this podcast or anything like that, things that just make me feel good. It could be a list of successes for you so that at the end of 2024, when you go back and you do your reflection of the year that's been, you have a list already set up of all those things that you have achieved, the big, the small, all of it, because sometimes we forget how much we have achieved in a year. So that is something that I recommend just to keep those vibes high. Most importantly, though, the thing that you are going to have to do is you are going to have to take action. Take action towards your goals, because your goals are nothing if they just live as wishes and fanciful things on a dream list, right? So take action, even if it is thinking about one thing you can do every day to move the needle forward towards you creating your ideal life, your author goals, anything like that, one thing. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, but hold yourself to doing at least one thing every day that will move you closer to being that future self that you aspire to be. It might mean that you have to find ways to keep yourself accountable in this. This might be that you invest a bit of money into doing a course or something so that the investment holds you accountable. It might be that you make a public announcement on social media that you're going to write this book within this time frame, or send it out to your newsletter list, or whatever it is that holds you accountable to actually seeing your goal through. And make sure that you start whatever it is before you are ready. You don't have to be fully ready to start and to do something. Sometimes it's better to just get going and make mistakes and learn and fail along the way and pick yourself up and get going. If we're waiting for the perfect moment, if we're waiting for all the planets to align, probably not going to happen. And it's a powerful excuse for you to stay sitting exactly where you are come this time next year. So just remember, done is better than perfect. Don't be afraid to get your work out there. Don't wait for perfection, and don't sit back and do nothing until you feel that everything is perfectly aligned for you to step out and take some action. Just as important as taking action is knowing when to quit or to pivot as well. So lately I've been listening to an audiobook called Quit, The Power of Knowing When to Walk Away by Annie Duke. And it is awesome. It's just that reminder that everything you say yes to is saying no to something else. So when we've prioritized what is actually important to us and what we're actually working towards, then we should have some sense of the things that we need to let go of. We can't do everything. We can't be super people. This is my pep talk to myself here. I can't do everything. There are things that sometimes you need to say no to and let go of. We need to reconsider for everything on our goal list why it is that we want to do that thing, achieve that thing, or why we're doing that thing. We need to revisit our strengths and make sure that they align, or if they don't align, that we are in the process of learning or getting help so that we can reach those goals. We need to just double check in that we're not doing something because it feels like a should, or that we're people pleasing, or it feels like an obligation or expectation. Because again, whenever we're taking on a task like that, we're saying no to something else, something that may actually bring us bigger dividends down the line, that is better aligned to our sole purpose and what we want to achieve in life. So Annie Duke in her book Quit talks about how quitting might actually allow you to achieve your goals faster. So just think of it this way. If you're quitting some of your lesser goals, you're making more time and room for those bigger goals, those things that maybe have more importance to you. And it is wise, whenever you take on a big endeavor or a big goal, to also set what she calls kill criteria, which is a commitment to specific criteria being met as a reminder that you need to quit that thing. So it might be that you are writing a book, but if you find that your procrastination over 6 months outweighs the amount of writing that you get on the page, and when you are getting the writing on the page, you're hating every moment of it, maybe you set the kill criteria that if you're feeling that way over 3 months, then you kill the project and you move on to something different. That way you won't get to the 6 months and still have achieved next to nothing. You've set your kill criteria at 3 months instead. So don't be afraid to set a goal with a disclaimer that I will reach this goal unless this is how I feel about it, or this happens, or I decide to pivot in this direction instead, or whatever. I've also been recently listening to one of Joanna Penn on the Creative Penn podcast, one of her solo episodes, episode 728, which is the 15-year author business pivot with Joanna Penn. And I highly recommend, if you like Joanna Penn, if you're a fan like I am, maybe go listen to that podcast, because that talks about pivoting and changing your author career. Once you set out on one path, you do not have to stay on that path. Things change, life changes. Don't be afraid of making changes as well. One of the keys to success in achieving your goals also is being really discerning with who you spend your time with and how you spend your time. If I'm talking about who here, think about just who you're surrounding yourself with, the people in your life that you're surrounding yourself with. Do they build you up? Do they pull you down? Are you around a whole lot of negative Nancys that are just making you feel horrible about your goals or aren't encouraging you? Or are you surrounding yourself with cheerleaders who want you to succeed and whom you want to succeed, so that you're both elevating each other up? Who you spend your time with really does impact upon your energy and your mindset. So with all of that, be willing to let go. Whatever goals you set for yourself, be willing to let go of them too. Be willing to let go of people. Part of manifestation is not holding too tight to the outcome or how something is going to eventuate. That signifies that you don't have trust, in the universe or whatever you believe in. That also signifies that you've still got a little bit of lack going on, that sense of lack in your mindset that could just very well be holding you back. So if you cling too tightly to your goals, to achieving them, and to how they're going to come about, you could be limiting possibilities, bigger, better possibilities of how things might eventuate or opportunities for you. And also, when we hold tight to something, that is usually out of fear that we won't receive what it is we're holding on to. We won't be able to keep what we're holding on to. So there's just a little mindset tip too. So circling back around though, my biggest thing for manifesting an awesome writing year ahead, an awesome 2024, is just going back and getting super, super clear on your why you're doing this, what you want to achieve, why you've chosen all of your goals. What do they mean to you? Revisit that regularly throughout the year in case your why changes, in case, some things change in your life, because we can often trick ourselves and sometimes live somebody else's why. It is easy to do. Think about how you want to make your goals feel. And think about also some other ways that you can get that feeling right now, that you can bring it into the present. So how else can you bring that feeling that you would get from accomplishing that goal into your life now? As I've kind of alluded to in this rather long, meaty episode, some of the things that I'm going to be focusing on this year, it's not a full list, and these things might change as I get a little bit more clarity over the next couple of days. But I have 2 books that I want out and published in the world, and that is Broken Lies, which is already back from the editor, and Hades Hex, which is still yet to be written. Yay! The 3rd book in the Hades trilogy, Hades Hocus Pocus, I would love that drafted before the end of the year. I am aspiring to having more downtime. I am planning on simplifying my life a little bit and scheduling some downtime, some weekends off, which is almost unheard of for me. More time with family. I want to look into selling direct. I'm excited about that, and refocusing a little bit on my copy. So on my writing skills around my emails and on my website and all that cool stuff. I have a big author signing event in April, the Ages of Pages event. So I am excited to get my books and myself all ready to go with that one. I do want to declutter my environment, my home environment, and keep my house and my yard a little bit tidier, because I find my focus is better, my mindset is better, my mental health is better when I live in a tidier, uncluttered environment. So with all of that, simplifying my life, I'm looking for more downtime, more family time, and better health, I think, because there'll be a little bit more balance. I am also, when it comes to this podcast, Alchemy for Authors, I am looking at maybe seeing if I can fit in some more episodes, but smaller episodes. maybe 15-minute episodes, which is going to be interesting because, as you would have seen from the last episode and this one, I tend to talk a lot, so they're quite long and meaty. But I would love if you have got any suggestions on what you would like me to talk about or topics you'd like me to talk about on this podcast. I would love to hear from you so that I can maybe put out some in-betweeny episodes that are considerably shorter and keep momentum going with this podcast that I love and I hope that you're really enjoying. So anyway, there we have it. I would love to know what it is that you want to manifest this year in 2024. Is it your first book? Is it a full-time author career? Is it more readers? Is it less overwhelm? Is it all of the above? Whatever your goals for the year, just know that you are the biggest factor in making them a reality or not. The power of mindset and action in manifesting actualization cannot be overstated. If your goals aren't manifesting, don't beat yourself up. Get curious. Are there limiting blocks you still need to release? Are you being too rigid with how you expect things to happen? What other actions could you take right now? And maybe consider, are there better things on the horizon, things that you hadn't even considered? If you're finding that you're self-sabotaging your success or your goals, another resource you can look into is reading The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, which discusses how to move beyond your fears and the internal limits that you might have set for yourself. As I mentioned, one of my goals is to include some mini episodes of Alchemy for Authors. So if there are mindset things that you are struggling with or things that you want to know a little bit more about with writing or the craft or publishing or mindset or manifestation, do reach out to me. I would love to know how I can continue supporting your author and writing journey. You can most definitely email me at jo@jobuer.com, or you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook. If you're so inclined, you could also join the Alchemy for Authors Facebook group, which I'll leave the links to in the show notes. Just on a final note, I am so thankful that you are here, ready to embark on another year, the third year of Alchemy for Authors with me. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support it further, please share it with a friend or tag the show on socials. Positive word of mouth is the most meaningful support of the show, and I'll be so deeply grateful for it. Rating, reviewing, or even buying me a coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/JoBuer are other ways that you can help ensure the longevity of this podcast. So thank you again, my friend. I am wishing you a wonderful, inspired start to 2024. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.